There's a lot you gotta know about cutting down trees, rules and responsibilities. If you wanna have fun, you might learn the knack of the great old ways of the lumberjack. Well, the tools are powerful, big and new, and they work much faster than the old ones do. But the loggers and the foresters all look back to the ways of the mighty lumberjack. Well, some things never seem to change, like shouting out words that might sound strange. If you hear timber, don't stick around. Means a big old tree's gonna hit the ground. And the tools are powerful, big and new, and they work much faster than the old ones do. But the loggers and the foresters all look back to the ways of the mighty lumberjack. Now the forester's job is to plant new trees, placed in the space where they used to be. So your great-grandchildren in the years to come will still have forests they can get wood from. And the tools are powerful, big and new. They work much faster than the old ones do. But the loggers and the foresters all look back to the ways of the mighty lumberjack.
Here it is, Rachel. This is the lumberyard where my mom and dad are going to buy the wood to build my clubhouse.
Wow, so big. Gosh, Dustin, there sure is a lot of it. Where do you suppose it all came from?
That's easy. Everyone knows that lumber comes from trees.
Yes, I know that. But how is a tree made into lumber?
That's easy, too.
Huh? Who are you?
Where did you come from?
Hard Hat Harry's my name, and logging's my game.
Logging? What's that?
When the trees are cut, they're made into logs. So you must be the person who cuts the trees.
It makes them into lumber.
Well, actually, I'm a genie, but today I'm a lumberjack, too.
A genie?
A lumberjack?
Right.
But which one are you?
Well, a genie is someone who can do this. And a lumberjack is someone who does this.
Whoa, radical! He really is a genie.
Oh, and we really are lumberjacks. Usually we're called loggers.
Let's go show Dustin and Rachel exactly what a logger does.
Let's go.
Okay. Oops, but first, you need to be properly dressed. Something's missing. Oh yes, when you're a logger, you must always remember the safety rules, which means you must always wear your hard hats.
Okay, now can we go cut down a tree?
Yeah, we have one to fell right over here.
What does fell mean?
Well, fell is the same thing as cutting down a tree. You see, we loggers have our own special words.
Like timber!
Right, let's go. So is this the tree?
This is the tree. What we're going to try to do here is follow it out in this direction and try not to damage any of the other trees.
How tall do you think this tree is?
Well, that's a good question. I can't get a good guess right now, but when it's on the ground, how about we measure it?
Okay, cool.
Okay, if you guys are ready to go, we'll have you move around this way and we'll get started.
Okay.
Okay.
Good luck, Brad.
All right. Good luck.
Okay, now let's stand way over here because that saw is really loud. Now first, Brad checks the direction in which he wants the tree to fall. Now watch how he does this. In felling a large tree, the logger first makes a cut with his power saw only partway through the trunk. Then, he makes an undercut, creating a wedge-shaped piece that he will cut out of the tree trunk. uses his axe to knock out the wedge piece. Oh, here comes that sawing sound again. Now look how he cuts the backside of the tree, but just far enough so the tree doesn't fall. Oh, now this is really cool. See the colorful wedge he just took out of his tool belt? These wedges are made of a very strong nylon material, and they're used to control the direction in which the tree falls. He puts enough pressure on the tree trunk so that the tree only falls in the direction of the wedge cut. Just a little more sawing and he's almost there.
Timber!
There it goes! Now he's going to clean up all the splintered edges. Well, let's check it out. As you can see, he cleans up not only the stump that will be left in the forest, but also the bottom of the trunk.
Did the tree fall where you wanted it to?
Just where we wanted it.
So, how old is this tree?
This tree, well, looks like it's about 85 years old.
And how do you know it's 85 years old?
Well, you can count each one of these rings represents 1 year of the tree's life. So starting from the center, you count out to the edge, and it's about 85.
What's this sticky wet stuff?
Well, that's tree sap, and that's how the tree gets its nutrient from the soil.
So what happens next?
Next, I'll take my saw and remove the limbs from the tree and cut it into log lengths.
Oh, well, maybe we better step back for that.
Okay.
Look how he uses a nail to hold his measuring tape in place. That allows him to measure the length of the log as he walks along, cutting off the branches with his big chainsaw. Once he reaches the right length, he'll give it a mark. Hey, it looks like that tree is being cut into a 33-foot length. Now he'll cut the trunk into logs.
Wow, those are big.
Yep, they saw those trunks into logs anywhere from 8 to 40 feet long, depending on what the sawmill orders. Sometimes they even use hydraulic tree shears that look like big scissors.
Here's a tree we can cut down. It looks dead anyway.
Well, if it were the old days, we would cut it down. But nowadays, a tree like this, known as a snag, is a great home for wildlife.
Listen, it's a woodpecker. Harry, is it a logger's job to look out for wildlife?
Well, loggers work alongside people known as foresters, and they help protect forest life. And foresters do a lot more than that. They go to college to learn how to manage a forest. They're responsible for keeping up a good supply of lumber and paper and other wood products, and they take care of our valuable resources.
Like water.
Uh-huh.
Whoa, beautiful.
And recreation areas.
Like places to picnic and go camping.
Exactly.
Oh, Dad, Harry, how you doing?
Hi, Terry.
You want to help us plant some trees?
Sure, Terry. As you guys can see, foresters are also responsible for planting new trees where old ones have been cut down. So there's always a supply.
Yeah, let's plant some trees.
Well, let's see what we have here. We've got little pine trees. Okay, once we use the dibble down here to get this hole the right size, take this tree. This is containerized as opposed to bare root. And it slips right into that hole because it's custom made. This dibble is just custom made for it. Put a little bit of dirt in there and just pack it in real good. And that's all there is to it.
And you don't need to water it or anything?
No, we let Mother Nature take care of them after that.
So, how fast do these kinds of trees grow?
It'll take a couple years for the roots to get established, but after that it'll grow pretty fast.
So about how old is this tree?
This seedling's a year old. It started out as a seed in the nursery last year, and it was grown a season, and now it's being planted out in the forest.
Well, Terry, thanks for showing us how you replenish the forest with new seedlings.
You're welcome, Harry.
Harry, what are they doing with those logs?
The loggers skid, which means haul the logs to the landing, which is usually a central place in the woods.
Well, those logs sure look heavy.
They are. That's why they use special tractors called skidders or long cables called chokers to yard the logs to the landing. After the logs reach the landing, the loggers have a chance to saw off any limbs they couldn't reach earlier that were underneath the tree when it fell. This is where they can also measure and cut any leftover pieces.
Boy, that looks like really hard work.
Oh, it is. But in order to pass the time, we loggers sing our own special song. Hey, why don't you sing along with me? Well, some things never seem to change, like shouting out words that might sound strange. If you hear timber, don't stick around, means a big old tree's gonna hit the ground. Well, the tools are powerful, big and new, and they work much faster than the old ones too. But the loggers and the foresters all look back to the ways of the mighty lumberjack. Yeehaw!
Yeehaw! That was fun, Harry. So, after the logs are yarded to the landing, they're shipped to the sawmill, right?
Right. From the landing, the trucks carry the logs to the sawmill. The big rig logger trucks deliver the freshly cut logs to the sawmill. Then, the logs get unloaded from the truck using the same big skidders we saw in the forest. The logs get assembled in a huge landing awaiting the cutting process, and the first step is debarking.
What happened to you?
Oh, well, the first machine the logs go to is called a debarking machine, so I thought I'd dress the part. Oh, but a dog's bark is a little different than the bark on a tree.
Okay, hardhound, Harry. Finish!
The bark must be removed because it's dirty and can dull saws. One kind of debarker has metal bars or knives that rub off or chip off the bark.
What happens after that, Harry?
The logs are then stored here at the mill until they're ready to be sawed up.
What happens to the logs? Do people build log cabins out of them?
I didn't think people still live in log cabins anymore. Do they, Harry?
Well, very few people do, but one of the most famous log splitters of all time, Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, once lived in a log cabin.
What happens to the logs if they're not made into log cabins?
Well, they're cut into boards. Well, let's go see the computer and I'll show you. After being stored, the logs are examined by an electronic scanner which measures their size and shape. The computers figure out how the logs should be cut. And then, over here, large logs are moved onto a platform called a carriage.
That's a bandsaw, right? My dad's got one, but it's not that big.
At a sawmill, a bandsaw's blades can extend from the floor to the ceiling. The saw slices off a board until the log has become a pile of boards.
That's how they make lumber.
But it's not quite ready yet. Moving belts then carry the newly made boards called green lumber to the edger, a set of smaller saws which trim the rough edges. Trimmer saws cut each board to its proper length, then they square the ends. The board then passes on a conveyor called a green chain.
But it's not green.
Green means how much water is in the freshly cut lumber, not the color of the chain. Workers grade each piece of lumber. That means they sort them according to size, quality, and kind of wood. After that, the wood is seasoned.
You mean they put salt and pepper on it?
No, seasoning the wood is just a fancy name for the drying process.
Wow, from cutting the trees all the way to seasoning the wood. That's a lot of hard work.
Don't they do anything for fun?
Well, in the old days, they used to sit around a fire in their logging camp, telling stories of the most famous logger of all time.
Who is that, Harry?
Well, legend has it that there once lived a giant of a man whose name was Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan?
Yep. Paul Bunyan and his great big blue ox named Babe invented logging. The story goes that Paul Bunyan was so big and so strong he could fell hundreds of trees with a single blow of his axe. Then he'd load the many logs on Babe's back so the pioneers would have enough wood to build houses and wagons and ships and bridges and barns.
Is it true?
Well, that's how the story goes. But nowadays, loggers do something a little different for fun.
Where are we now?
This, you guys, is the Forestry Games competition. As you can see, the things they do for fun are a lot like the things they do on the job. These forestry games remind them of the old days before they had big, powerful tools to make their jobs easier. Come on.
What's that over there?
Oh. Well, that's an event that two people can do together.
Why are they sawing that log the hard way?
This is another skill that takes us back to the time before power saws. Except the crosscut saw is sometimes still used on really big trees like a sequoia. The object of the crosscut saw event is for two people to saw through the tree as fast as they can with a 6 to 9 foot saw.
Is this event only for two people?
It must be, Dustin. Look how big that saw is.
Well, actually, one person can use the saw, only it's a lot harder to do. One person using the saw is a single buck, two people using the saw is called a double buck, and a man and woman using the saw is called a Jack and Jill. But luckily, they don't have to go tumbling down the hill afterwards. Get it? Jack and Jill go up the...
1, 2, go!
See the guy sitting on top of the log? He's lubricating the saw, so when it builds up heat from going back and forth, it doesn't get stuck.
I know that sound. It's a chainsaw, right?
Uh-huh. This one is called power bucking. You have to know how to handle a chainsaw very carefully. Remember, don't even try any of this at home.
Cool. Look what they're doing with those axes over there.
That's the axe throwing competition, sometimes known as logger darts.
Come on, Harry. Why don't you try?
Okay, I'll show them how it's really done.
But don't use your magic.
Okay.
Bullseye!
Harry, get wet.
Well, look at that event over there. Can we try that one?
Well, that's log rolling, or what they call burling. Two people wearing shoes called corks, kind of like golf shoes, stand on a log in a burling pond, which is usually a lake, a pond, or a slow-moving river. The two people try to get each other to fall off the log into the water. Whoever is still standing wins.
I bet you can do that hard hat, Harry. Why don't you give it a try?
Well, okay. I might as well try that too. That's a lumber pole. It's harder than it looks. You have to walk out as far as you can without falling off. And the branch gets narrower the farther you go. It gets a little shaky and scary the farther out you walk.
I was running, we did it. I missed it, I heard everything.
Here we go.
Harry, 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 Harry.
Oh, awesome. Hey, wait a minute. You're dry.
Well, what can I say? It pays to be a genie.
Look at those people running.
Oh, that's called the choker race run. Using a steel 8-foot to 10-foot cable, it's supposed to be like the drag lines you learned about earlier. They hook the cable to 3 or 4 logs at once, or one great big log, then run an obstacle course that is like running in a real forest. They have to walk balance beams and jump over logs as fast as they can. Now it's the women's chance to compete. Here she's gonna wrap the cable around the log and then head for home to see how fast she can make her time. Boy, I never had to do this kind of training learning to be a genie. And this is the pole climbing event. They use an old telephone pole and make it look like a tree. The object of this event is to climb the pole quickly. Sometimes they have to collect seeds on the way up or maybe cut off the top of the tree when they get there. The person with the fastest time wins. Oh, boy, those last few steps are hard. Oh. Ah, you made it. You know, if I climbed all the way up there, I'd be pretty tired too. I think I'd just like to rest for a while. Oh, but what goes up must come down. Oh, here goes our next competitor. Let's see if he can beat the earlier time.
What are those pointy things on their boots?
Well, those are spikes which are attached to their boots with leather straps. They climb by kicking their spikes into the tree. The rope holds them up and helps support them if they don't get the spike in securely enough. Maybe I should show them a genie trick of mine. It would be a lot easier to get down. This is an old Scottish event, the caber toss. The participants have to throw the log, flipping it end over end to get the end that they were holding as far out as possible. Pretty good. This event doesn't look too easy because those logs are heavier than they look. Good throw.
Oh no, I don't see any more events. Is that all there is?
Well, it's time to go, kids.
Time to go already?
I'm afraid so.
Well, that was a blast, Hardhead Harry.
Yeah, it was great, but...
But what's wrong, Rachel?
Well, I was wondering what happened to the boards we left back at the sawmill.
Oh, they're not there anymore, Rachel. They've been loaded onto trucks and taken to different places. Some of the boards go to factories where they're made into a variety of products, like paper. Or to lumber yards where they're to be used in homes or buildings.
I never thought about all the uses of wood.
But that's not all. We see wood products every day in all kinds of stores. Without wood, we wouldn't have chairs to sit on, or tables to eat on, or beds to sleep on.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Pencils are made of wood.
And something even better than that is made out of wood.
Toys!
Building blocks, train sets.
And some of the games and game pieces.
So now you've seen how wood is used to create many things. And of course, lumber.
And lumber is what we need to build my clubhouse. Gosh, Harry, without loggers, we wouldn't have a lot of the things that are made from trees.
Thanks, Harry. You taught us a lot about lumberjacks.
You mean loggers and foresters.
Yeah, and it was great learning about all the different things that are made from trees.
Well, I think I found one more thing that's made from trees.
What?
The splinters. Ow, ow, ow.
You're funny, Harry. Thanks for the great adventure.
well guys, I gotta go. There's lumber to be harvested and more trees to be planted.
And we need to go get the wood to build my clubhouse.
Right.
Okay guys, see you later.
Bye, Harry. Thank you. What a great adventure.
There's a lot you gotta know about cutting down trees, rules and responsibilities. If you wanna have fun, you might learn the knack of the great old ways of the lumberjack. Well, the tools are powerful, big and new, and they work much faster than the old ones do. But the loggers and the foresters all look back to the ways of the mighty lumberjack. Well, some things never seem to change, like shouting out words that might sound strange. If you hear timber, don't stick around. Means a big old tree's gonna hit the ground. And the tools are powerful, big and new, and they work much faster than the old ones do. But the loggers and the foresters all look back to the ways of the mighty lumberjack. Now the forester's job is to plant new trees, placed in the space where they used to be, so your great-grandchildren in the years to come will still have forests they can get wood from. And the tools are powerful, big and new, they work much faster than the old ones do. But the loggers and the foresters all look back to the ways of the mighty lumberjack. There's a lot you gotta know about cutting down trees, rules and responsibilities. If you wanna have fun, you might learn the knack of the ways of the mighty lumberjack.